what failed was our investor committed suicide. And then it turned out that he was a Russian oligarch. I put all my money in. I went all in because I liked the idea of being a billionaire. So spent all my money up until I had £50 left, and bought a flight ticket back to Denmark with my last money, and I asked my friends for help. It felt like I went into onto the stage, and he just said, "Mo, Mo, get down, motherfucker." And I was laying down, knocked out for 3 years. At first, I cried a little. That's pretty common to do. Start smoking weed to calm down my emotions, and started reading and watching. I was almost about to say YouPorn, but I did mean TED Talks.
Stefan, you've had over 27 years of experience in business. You've built 15 startups, exited 5 of them. In your bio, you also talk about going bankrupt twice. I want to talk a little bit about your journey. Tell us, what's your story? How'd you get here today?
Wow. Hey, okay. How many minutes do I have, or hours would I probably say? Because the point is, I'm 46 years old, and it's now been 28 years where I have been an adult being a serial entrepreneur. But indeed, did I begin at the same age as you when I was 13. And what I did back then was I started doing a service for old women, wiping their, fixing their gardens and shit. And that went okay. That wasn't something amazing. We were just helping old women with their chores. And and then since then, you could probably put 20 companies on the list, 5 exits and 2 bankruptcies. I've been up and down, and I can't tell you my whole story because I realized 4 months ago I was approached by a couple of ghostwriters, 2 from different parts of the world, actually. It was the same day also. I was like, there must be a sign. They wanted to write my book, and I was sitting, okay, shit. All right. How is my life? What is my life? Where did I go? Where did I fail? Where did I have a great success? And all these things. And it turned out that I have 9 lives. Luckily, I'm not a cat, so I'm living my 10th life right now. But if you compare me to a normal person, then you can have a founder like you doing this. And when I look back at my life, it's just going like this. Luckily now, it's going on. And hopefully I have learned from my past billion mistakes, what not to do and what to do. So I've been around, and also 12 years ago, I started being a mentor for other founders because I had a depression, actually, and I wanted to get out of it. And there was this TED Talk that taught me, it was this Indian shaman who said, what makes you most happy is by helping other people without asking anything in return. And he said that, and I listened through the accent and took it deep, and started helping hundreds of founders, and it turned out really good. Why are you laughing, Berg?
The accent got me. Hold on. So we're going to talk about those successes, those failures in a second here, but how did you get the name Mr. Raw? That's the story I want to hear about first.
Yeah, okay. So I've always been very fascinated by raw. Because raw is essence, raw is original, raw is pure, raw is real, raw is nature. So I had a few companies called something with raw, and in fact, just to give a little fun insight, the best thing I ever did in my life was to create a company called something with raw, because as soon as I had my title as raw, I got no connection request from any Indians, and I'm not I'm not a racist, but at all. Actually, I have an Indian girlfriend. I would like to say so. I'm not, but I don't think you have tried to be on LinkedIn if you haven't been poked by an Indian who wants to sell you some software competences. But luckily, Raw is the equivalent of FBI in India. So just by having Raw in my title, I skipped all the Indians. Berg is dying inside. And anyway, so also being a mentor at that time, my name was just Stefan Avivson, which is my real name. Uh, when I was I would say after 100 sessions with founders, I started being pretty annoyed by the same blah 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 blah. Yeah, blah blah blah. And I said, okay, let's fuck that situation. Let's fuck that conversation. Let's talk about the real shit. Let's talk about what really matters. And when we start talking about things that really matters, people get a little overwhelmed many times, I would say, but it also changes them. That's something else. But often did I hear before I started calling myself Mr. Raw, but because they know I had something with Raw to do, I had a company there, they started saying, "Oh, Mr. Raw, you're so direct." And it wasn't in a sexual way; it was in a professional way, of course.
Right. So it is actually that is an agency in India. I was looking at if Raw is an agency. It says, yeah, research and analysis wing. Oh, that makes sense. That's why they don't want to approach you.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to your first business. So you mentioned you were running a basically gardening service, right? For elderly people.
Yeah, and that's when I started
And then
programming also on my ZX81, which is a 45-year-old computer, I guess, invented back in 81. That's why it's called ZX81. But I haven't been programming since. But there I understood how you program and how you build architecture and all that. Because you had to program your own game before you could play it.
so you go on to build multiple other companies.
Hmm?
What would you say were some of the most successful ones?
Well, I would say the ones I exited.
Could you could you tell us about a few of those startups?
What? Sorry.
Could you tell us about a few of those startups, or like which one? Like,
Yeah, back when I was studying economics, or as I like to say, when I was drinking beer at university, we had no money. In Denmark, though, you get money from the government, so we also have free education, so we were okay, but we didn't have enough money, and we really wanted to go on a skiing trip, and we could see on the pricing and stuff like that we couldn't afford it. We wouldn't have money for it. So I said at some Friday bar where we were pissed drunk, of course, why don't we just arrange our own skiing trip? And then all my friends were like, yeah, let's do it. And we said, yeah, let's do it. And next year we had 300 students on a skiing trip. We got a free trip ourselves, and actually made I think we made $20,000 for going on a skiing trip a couple of weeks and just being drunk and have fun. And the next year we had 1,200 people. So it just simply exploded. Some years later, it wore off and stuff like that, and then it got sold to a doctor. A medical doctor who wanted to do it. But anyway, yeah, that was one of them. Yeah, it's not only tech I've been doing. I built 5 B2B SaaS companies as well, a couple of marketplaces, and I've been in so many sectors. I would say that every time I come into a new sector, I excel like crazy on the traction side of things. I'm the commercial type of founder. You may see and feel I am a salesman of some kind, a storyteller perhaps even, and stuff like that. So I've always been focusing on one thing. And if other founders are actually listening to this podcast, and this is taken also from all the hundreds of mentor sessions I've had with stupid and clever founders around the world, is that one thing we all forget. And that's the one reason why I always have had traction and success on a revenue matter, was because I'm always talking to customers. I'm always talking to customers to understand them as humans, as personas, as ICPs, if you may, ideal customer profile. But in reality, look at what actually triggers you to be talking to me about what I am offering you. If I can understand that equation, I can identify my product market fit. Because what is product market fit? It's funny. It's, by the way, very, very funny about product market fit, because everybody's talking about it. I guess you talk about it too, being a serial entrepreneur already. It's all about product market fit. What is product market fit? It's a very good question, because nobody really knows. Because what actually happened was that there's a guy called Mark Andreessen, who leads a small VC in Silicon Valley. And I think 15 years ago, he tweeted out a very, very short tweet about product market fit. And because he's a rock star in the VC scene, and that's where everything started flying off. It was quite a weird time for, I would say, serial entrepreneurs like me. But everybody started talking about product market fit. But it was weird for me, because if you go 15 years back, meaning when you were a toddler, Jesus Christ, when you were a toddler, being a serial entrepreneur was simply one of the worst things you could be in life. There's no future in that. You're a fucking loser. Yeah, you're gonna fail. You're worth nothing. Get a job. Go on pension. Do whatever. Blah, 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 blah. But then suddenly, those 15 years ago, it just started turning. And we became rock stars. We're still doing the same shit that we've been doing since we begun. But now we're just rock stars. We're not losers, which is quite weird. But anyway, product market fit. What is product market fit? That is that your product fits your market. That is, your market wants your product. Basically, it's when what you offer is what your customers are buying. And that sounds pretty simple and weird, but that is what I refer to as the raw value proposition of a company. Why do people buy from you? Why should you buy from me? And if I should say anything to any founder, go home, talk to 50 customers, come back and talk to me again, because I assure you, you will be a different person, because you know what the fuck you're doing. Pardon my French. When you're building a product without asking the people if it's toilet paper you're making, perhaps you should talk to your customers and ask, how is the toilet paper doing it for you? Maybe it's a little bit harsh. Maybe it's a little bit sandy. Maybe you shouldn't, maybe you should put some softener in if that's what people are. Or maybe they want it even harder. I don't know. We have to ask them. We have to know it. We have to understand our customers, how they want it.
So, tell me about your failures and your bankruptcies.
I failed many times. I failed many times in taking wrong decisions. The biggest fall I ever had was back when I lost $1 billion. That was hard, I'd say. That was 12 years ago. I built a company with my best friend. We called it Copenhagen Shipping Exchange. It was back in 2008. Shit, that's 16 years ago. Just after the bank crisis came in October, and actually just after I exited my second company. What failed was our investor committed suicide, and we didn't know who he was actually. And then it turned out that he was a Russian oligarch who had just been to court with another oligarch, Russian oligarch, winning the court case, winning $4 billion in the court case, and then he went home and committed suicide. And that's when I learned running around in London. I'm in London again here now, but that's when I learned that running around in Mayfair talking to all the investors, that you cannot raise money when you have a dead Russian on board. That's simple as it is.
That was a curveball. So hold on. So you build a shipping company. You've got this Russian investor. He wins a court case, goes home, kills himself. What like, and then the company just fell apart from there?
People got very they got scared, of course.
Wait, how did you go from there? Like, this company you're building, it's becoming successful, and it completely falls apart. How did you handle that? Where did you go from there?
I put all my money in. I went all in because I liked the idea of being a billionaire. You know, I went all in and spent all my money up until I had £50 left, and bought a flight ticket back to Denmark with my last money, and I asked my friends for help. Got some help, and then my mother died.
So
You know who Mike Tyson is? I would assume Jake Paul.
yeah,
Mike Tyson, the best boxing sensation ever. It felt like I went into onto the stage, and he just said, "Mo, Mo, get down, motherfucker." And I was laying down, knocked out for 3 years, having a very, very deep depression, actually. And one part was the sorrow over my mother. But when looking back on the depression, it was much more the fact that I came from having full freedom in life, meaning I could go and travel, buy or do whatever I want, and then being in a situation where I almost even can't pay for the local bus to get down to the local council to get some money.
where do you go from there? You're in Denmark. You've had all these travesties happen to you. You've got no money left. Where do you go from there? What did you do? How'd you recover?
First, I cried a little. That's pretty common to do that part of time, and start smoking weed to calm down my emotions, and started reading and watching. I was almost about to say YouPorn, but I did mean TED Talks.
Okay.
So, and one of the TED Talks, was this Indian shaman who said, "What makes you most happy? Buy a lot of people without asking anything in return." And I found that to be quite clever.
You mentioned, I got one last question for you. So you mentioned growing up, entrepreneurship was seen as the worst thing you could do with your life. Like, it was terrible. Everyone thought you'd be a failure.
Mm-hmm.
And then you mentioned there was a kind of a shift in culture. What do you think caused that? Why do you think we now look at people who build businesses as heroes or as like these super celebrities?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that happened? What do you think is the cause for that?
I think the cause is that we surpassed the IT bubble in 2000. It took us 15 years to recoup, 10, 15 years to recoup. I think it was around 12, 13 or something. Uh, and then it just became a sexy thing because now you could suddenly, now you can make a lot of money. And there were several, there were several unicorns back then, and they still pop out here and there. So people, and because everything becomes social media, the information spreads much quicker and gets out to a greater audience. And when you need to brand yourself as a VC, then you need to brand yourself with great things. When you need to brand yourself as a founder, you need to use PR as a tool, not just marketing and stuff. And PR is just really strong. Public relations that I read about myself in the newspaper or in Vogue or wherever I have been.
Awesome.